Hello. Today we are talking to the fabulous Sarah Joyce in our Recipients podcast series. I'll tell you a little bit about Sarah. Sarah has received the award for change making. Sarah's dedicated advocacy played a pivotal role in the recognition of World Meningitis Day in Australia by health ministers and significantly boosted meningococcal vaccination rates and access. As Ambassador for Meningitis Centre Australia and Como, she has featured in media, on buses and billboards. And the Change-Making Award is for achieving greater equality for disabled people by changing policy, programs or legislation. And I think we can agree that Sarah's been out there doing that. So welcome, Sarah. Thanks so much for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on receiving the Change-Making Award. This is a hotly contested award each year.
And thank you so much. It was a very big surprise.
Well, fantastic, fantastic. So how did you get into this sort of work? You know, what drove you to do this particular work and the focus on things like vaccination? Yeah.
Well, prior to 2016, I actually worked in healthcare as a nurse in aged care and as a manager. So I always had that health background and always showed a huge interest in policy and things like that. And then in 2016, at age 30, I contracted meningococcal disease. So within 12 hours, I had a less than 5% chance of living. My family were told that I wouldn't survive and I would never wake up, but I did 9 days later. And it's been an ongoing thing over the last 8 years. I've just recently had my 77th operation, so getting those frequent flyer miles up there. But what I found is with meningococcal, people aren't aware that there are different strains that you can catch and that we're actually not vaccinated for all of the strains routinely. So I was one of those cases. So I had been immunised for meningococcal. So we thought it's very odd that that's what I had. And then they explained that there's a new strain that's emerged that was like spreading like wildfire that year. And then when we looked into it more, it wasn't on any immunisation plan. So that's when I thought change needs to happen with this, because if I didn't know, a lot of other people won't know that either. So we started just posting on social media about it. And then as I sort of became stronger, I then would go out to schools and different events and start speaking about it. And then even local politicians have been so supportive of everything. And they actually took my story to Parliament, and my case was actually used to help put that immunisation on the national plan. So that was very rewarding, I found there. Yeah, because there's just so many people that just don't know. And because with meningococcal, it happens so fast. And currently, 1 in 10 people will pass away, and 1 in 4 will be left with lifelong disability as well. So last year, we also went to Parliament House to discuss the fact that the main strain in the country that we're losing a lot of lives from isn't on the plan, and it's extremely expensive. So we're still fighting to get that particular one put on the schedule because it can be prevented. So we're hoping to make that change happen.
And how many people get meningococcal each year in Australia?
I think last year it was around 234. So
Mm,
they always say it's classed as a rare disease, which
right.
I guess it is, but it does happen. So, and I a lot of the time say, well, one case is too many because it's vaccine preventable. So, if we can prevent someone from losing a loved one, someone from losing their life, why wouldn't we do it? And Queensland made the change earlier this year, which has been fantastic. South Australia has made the change. Northern Territory has made a promise post-election to make a change. However, New South Wales and Victoria are not as willing to make the change so far, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so, you
Yeah.
know, we've got things for polio and measles and things, and we're so proud of eradicating them. So, you know, you
Yeah.
get a single case of measles, and there's notifications in the media, and all sorts of things happen, which it
Yeah.
should. It's a
Yeah.
really awful and highly infectious disease, but as you say, it's, you know, meningococcal is highly preventable.
Yeah. And the cost um, of, say, for me, for existence, like um, each year, because I can't eat or drink, so I'm on home TPN. So that costs the government $250,000 for 1 year. And I've had a kidney transplant, and that's about $500,000 a year. And then you throw in all the surgeries and ICU beds. That there itself would be an immunisation program. So
Yeah,
we've got the figures and things to show, but yeah, it can, because a lot of the time that's what the focus is, the money, as opposed to the actual person.
of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, governments, all of that. And I was
Yeah.
going to ask you what work you're currently engaged in, but you've talked about the program now is to make sure that other strains of meningococcal are covered, and of course other states are covered. So,
Yeah.
um, is the federal government involved in the work you're doing?
If we get 3 states approved, then legislation says it will be a federal case then. So, which will be fantastic if we can get that third one in, and that would be great. And Meningitis Centre, they do, oh, the work that they do is just amazing. They're just brilliant. And I've been so lucky that they've been a part of my journey as well, helping me, and like it's been good. Yeah, they're just wonderful people.
I love the way you talk about that, because that is a really lovely example of the fact that, you know, change making is a thing, but it takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy, a lot of hard work, a lot of time usually.
Yeah,
And people, it's not often something we do on our own. You know, there's
no,
usually an army involved.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's, you know, that's a great example. And so what are some of the barriers, some of the roadblocks you've encountered in actually getting out there, being taken seriously as someone who's survived, you know, about a meningococcal, about, you know, a life-changing experience? You know, have you found that people aren't prepared to listen to you, or that there's a suspicion about what you're saying because you're saying it?
Um, I've found that I've never found anyone that's been, say, in real life. So I'll share my story at even big medical conferences. So it's always well received.
Mm.
But on occasion, when I've shared things online, that's where I've had people say, "You're working for Big Pharma. This never happened to you." So things like that, and that it's another thing like with COVID. So they believe that, oh, just go and get some sunshine and you'll be fine. And even with when we did the billboards and photos on the buses, they weren't glamour shots. They were very raw. So I had multiple lines and feeding tubes and a colostomy bag. And that went up everywhere because I thought people need to see what can happen. And they were very well received. But I did also have a lot of online bullying where a few people would message me and say, wouldn't you just rather die than look like that? You look absolutely disgusting. And oh God, why would anyone want to look at that? And then I'm not, I would never retaliate at all. So I think on one comment, I just said, well, I truly hope that you never need to understand why we're showing this.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I suppose, I mean, the unfortunate thing is the time frame has coincided with the pandemic. So
Yeah.
the big rise in the anti-vaxxer movement, and people
Yeah.
who just don't want to hear the fact that vaccinations do save lives, have saved plenty of lives.
Yeah.
And of course, in the disability community, there's been a very big push to um, share with the community the importance of the broader community being vaccinated for, particularly for those of us who can't be, and there are some of us who can't be.
Yeah.
So, actually reducing transmissibility. So,
Yeah.
yes, so you've been at the pointy end of experiencing
Yeah.
unpleasantness, the trolling and the hatred. That's really quite
Yeah.
confronting, isn't it? And
Yeah.
did you really expect anything like that, or did it take you by surprise?
It did take me by surprise. And also, I think it was about 6 months after I was first sick and home, a current affair came to the house and did a story because there were a lot of cases at the time. So they did that and it went on, like it was shown and everything. And then my sister and my mum actually managed a Facebook page called Sarah's Recovery. And they started that to keep family and friends informed. And over the years, it's now got, like, I do it now, it's got a lot of followers, and that's how I get a lot of my advocacy out there. But when they shared the current affair video, and I've still to this day not looked, but they did say that there were a lot of people just saying the most horrible, horrible comments. And it was very offensive because I wasn't the only one that was featured. There
Mm.
was also a baby that was featured as well that was sick at the same time I was. And you just think, who would do that? Like, yeah, like what if that was your loved one and people were saying things about them? So, yeah, I just don't understand people like that sometimes. But yeah, I've never read
No,
those comments and I'm not going to. So,
no, we've had a shared understanding in particularly the women with disabilities community for many years that you never read the comments. You just
yeah,
don't bother.
yeah,
Mm, yeah, that's
yeah,
that's horrific. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely horrific. It's interesting, isn't it? It's almost the depersonification. So people just assume that, you know, they can say all of these things, but you're not a real person. It's not going to affect you, or
Yeah.
you know, because you're sort of famous, you're out there in the public eye, that somehow you're immune to horrible behaviour and it doesn't touch you. When
Yeah.
of course, it's terribly damaging. It's really awful.
Yeah. It is.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah.
goodness me. So yeah, change making is hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
worth it though. That I find,
Oh,
and I don't give up easy as well. Like if I say I'm going to
well,
do something, I'm going to do it.
clearly, yes, absolutely. So how will receiving this award, the Change Making Award in the National Awards for Disability Leadership, how do you think that will change your work, and what difference might it make to it?
I think it will help in this a lot in the sense of outreach to a lot more people. Um, Not necessarily using the word taking me more seriously, but recognizing that I have the ability to make change. Like, come and help me do it. Like, don't put it in the too hard basket. Like, because we can make change, and as you said, it takes a village often. It doesn't take one person. Like, so you need those allies as well.
Mm. It's so easy to just think, oh, this has just been my case, and I'll just look after me. I'll recover with my family, and I'll move on with my life. But
Yeah.
you've chosen, a completely different path. You've chosen to change the system, to get out there and say, look, this is, an avoidable disease. Is it a disease or a virus? Anyway, it's an avoidable thing, that we can actually make some specific changes using existing mechanisms,
Yeah.
because you understand how the law works and the number of states to get involved, when it becomes national. And so you've actually chosen to do that rather than to just, go home and get on with things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What on earth drives you to do that? Why? Is it the type of person? I mean, do you have to be, you're just a kind of person who changes things, or are there, um, you know, were you a change maker before, or is it, is this your first sort of crack at this kind of thing?
I think it's a bit of both because
Mm.
with my work prior in aged care and working as a manager and educator, there was always things to change. Like every day you could do something better or do something different. And it always came back to benefiting a person or people. So it wasn't making change so that you got money or things like that. It was to save lives, make lives more comfortable, reduce deaths and disability. Because I mean, I was perfectly healthy at age 30, and within 12 hours, I wasn't. And
Yeah.
so now I have these things to live with for the rest of my life, which I'm grateful for because I'm still here. I can still live and do things, like, and I've adapted. But if we can prevent that from happening, we should do it.
Well, it's a big deal, isn't it? So what's next for you? I mean, you've got other strains of vaccine to get into the system, and other states to hook up. Is that the long term plan, or what are
That'd be the
what are you thinking of?
like the ultimate goal. And I also, because I've spent so much time in hospital and little in the community, this
Mm,
year I've noticed how inaccessible communities are because until you go and experience it yourself, you don't recognize it. So I've had a lot of like incidences with that I speak about also at the Disability Expos. One in particular was when we went to Parliament House last year, out the front of our hotel. It was about a 7-minute walk. I can't do that. So we went to get in the taxi and he said, pay double the fare or you walk. And as we explained, I have disabilities, I can't walk that far. And he goes, double or walk. So we got out and took a photo of the number plate. And for a while, though, I was a bit shocked because I've never experienced that, and actually cried because I thought, have I done something wrong? Like I didn't know how to feel. So we then contacted the company that he worked for, and they were just amazing though, because I didn't contact them to be nasty or throw shade at the driver. It was more to let them know the lack of awareness out there that not all disabilities are visible, and everyone has the right to go in a taxi regardless of their distance and shouldn't have to pay double for that. That was one that really quite shook me, but the company were really, really receptive, and they said they were going to train their entire staff to make sure this doesn't happen. And so there was a good outcome at the end.
So fixing the taxi industry, next step.
Yeah.
Yes. It goes on, doesn't it? It
There's
does
just so many things. And and I'll admit, prior to falling ill, even though I worked in healthcare, you'd automatically think, no, that's fine, that's accessible, that's this way. It's not.
No. No, we often say this, it's not until you're inside it that you really get it. Absolutely. Yeah. So Sarah, tell me, who is a leader that you admire? Whose work do you admire, and why?
I would have to say Anya Christopherson, who's the CEO and founder of Champion Health Agency. We crossed paths years ago, and ever since she came into my life, that gave me a whole new perspective on things, and just the work that she's done, and in the past and even now, like what she's gone through. And I just admire her strength, but just everything, like the change. And like last year, she was the ambassador for People with Disabilities Day as well. And yeah, she's just amazing, really. She is.
Oh, fantastic.
Because I was actually, in October last year, I was actually in hospital about to have emergency surgery, but I had a conference to speak at. So I went to that first and came back.
Well, of course, yes.
Pulled the NG tube out and went. And then I was in ICU after, and that's where I got the email saying that I'd been nominated. And it was just like, oh my God, like, yeah, just so many things, like, I don't have enough words to describe it.
Well, Sarah, Joyce, congratulations once again. The judges are a tough gig, so you are a well-deserving recipient. Congratulations once again on receiving the 2023 National Awards for Disability Leadership Change-Making Award.
Thank you
And
very much.
Thanks so much for.
Thank you.